All right. Hello, Twitch. Hello, YouTube. We are finally ready to start. Thank y'all for being patient. We were figuring out some YouTube stuff. I didn't want to start the stream, but we got it started. So, how are we doing today? How are we feeling? We're back. This is Jimmy here. I'm a professional voice actor and audiobook narrator, and we are going to have some fun today. I tell you what, we're going to do some new stuff coming our way. We've had some follow-up communication from our friends over at voices.com, or not voice.com, voice123. Haven't gotten any nasty grams from Voices, but we'll see if that happens. But what we have had is some good conversations with our author friends, our rights holder / author for the audiobook that we're currently working on, has given us permission to live stream us working on the book, the latest book. So I think what we're going to do today, we're going to do all of our voiceover auditions like we've been doing on the live stream. We're going to run through the voiceover auditions and then maybe take a short, hydration type of break. And then we're going to run into actually producing real audiobook content that eventually will be available for folks to listen to on audible.com and wherever else this rights holder gets distribution. So that's going to be super fun, something we haven't done on the live stream before. So it's not just fooling around with the silliness of doing all these auditions. We're actually going to be doing some real genuine work, and we're going to go through the whole process of producing one finished hour. So you'll see A, how long that can take, and B, you'll see all the other tools that come to bear. Obviously, when we're just doing the auditions, we're basically just working in Pro Tools and uploading directly to the website. But when it comes to producing finished audio, we do take the time to make sure that we proof our work, and that means using our lovely tool known as Positron to do some AI proofing that is really quick and, in my experience, quite accurate and, in any case, extremely helpful. Would not be able to do the job without it for sure. So let's make sure our windows are up and exactly what we want them to be. We're going to open up a couple of things here that are going to help us be super efficient for later in the stream. And then we'll be good to go. So how are you doing? I believe we may have a couple extra folks stopping by the stream today. Hopefully we get some chatters. Feel free to ask me any questions, whether it's about the gear, about why I've got this crazy wire hanging down, about the software. I am working on Pro Tools. You do not need to have Pro Tools for things to work out. You can absolutely do everything that I'm doing more or less in something like Audacity or Audition or Reaper, Studio One, Logic, Ableton. I'm sure you can do it in just about any DAW, digital audio workstation out there. But I work in Pro Tools because I've got 20 years of working in music under my belt. And so I had the tool, I had the editing expertise. And so working in Pro Tools, it continued to make sense when I made the jump into voiceover. So we're going to jump right over here into our scene here where we've got Voice123 over here on one side, and we've got voices.com as well. We're going to get to some of these other tabs later, but right now we're going to go into voiceover auditions. Actually, we've got the wrong project open. We've got our audiobook template open. We're going to go over to our voiceover audition template. So it's let's see, we're not going to save that one. Having templates set up, extremely important, very powerful. It's such a simple thing, but if you have all of your templates set up with your mastering chain, if you're sort of in the audiobook world, that's sort of what they call it. Just having things set up to where you don't have to fuss with your EQ and your compression and your limiter and your noise reduction settings. You don't have to mess with any of that. You can just open it up and hit record. It needs to be that easy. You see, I just switched projects. I've opened it up, and I'm ready to arm a track and hit record. I don't have to mess with anything. So let's jump into it. And as we know, as we hang out at the stream more and more, you know that the first part of doing auditions is deciding which auditions not to do. Here, I'm only an 80% voice match, which matters a lot in what the client is going to see, the order in which they're going to see these auditions. 80% is not great, but we can see that it's probably mainly because of this role announcer. For commercial reads, the announcer voice, the announcer read, is considered to be very old and outdated. That's what you think of when you think of the radio read of, like, come on down to the mattress firm this Sunday and make sure you get a 2-for-1. Like, that's that very old, high sales pressure type of read that is not highly in demand these days. So here is a case where, it's a game show. I'm pretty sure within Voices there's like a game show host type of role, which is probably what they should have chosen here if they really wanted to get people who have the exact, voice that they're looking for. But let's take a look at here. Looking for the Price is Right, so the Bob Barker sound. Or I guess who took over it? Drew Carey? Didn't he take over it? Live from famous Cornwall Church in Northwest Drive in beautiful Bellingham, Washington, the annual Cornwall Church business meeting. It's not early in the day, but it's early in our voice warm up and our just sort of personal energy level here. And given that we're only an 80% match for something that is quite a low budget for quite a lot of words, actually, we're going to pass on this one. If we were a 100% match, we might really consider going for that one, but we're going to pass on that for now. Let's take a look at this one here. So let's see here. These all look good. There are some people in front of us, but 29 isn't so bad. Looking for Voice of God. So that's Voice of God type. Voice of God is a very specific thing. Voice of God usually means this is a live event, and here's the voice that comes over live during the event, usually to direct people to take their seats. The event will be starting in 5 minutes. Please take your seats. That Voice of God type thing is very much a standard set thing. So it sounds like they're making reference to that, and if they are experienced and they know what they're referencing, then this makes a lot of sense. So, okay, I get it. So this is more of the, the narrator who, I guess maybe who knows what the video is necessarily, but this is Jack, head of sales, who has the unfortunate job of sugarcoating the situation the team finds themselves in. Jack's team has been getting a number of new sales tools and lists thrown at them lately, and it's been adding onto the list of admin tasks they have to complete. Interesting. Some fun stuff going on here. Curious about whether this is, we don't have to get into it or anything, but you just notice things. It is talking about Jack's team. I was sort of interested in the pronoun usage there, but the referent, the antecedent to this pronoun is Jack's team. So I was like, okay, is Jack non-binary? Are Jack's pronouns they, them? But that doesn't appear to be the reference here. So we're going to go ahead and record this. This is Jack, head of sales, who has the unfortunate job of sugarcoating the situation the team finds themselves in. Jack's team has been getting a number of new sales tools and lists. Jack's team has been getting a number of new sales tools and lists thrown at them lately, and it's been adding on to the list of admin tasks they have to complete. So we're making a decision here. Being an actor, my background, by the way, is not acting. I am not a trained theater actor or anything, and I'm sure anyone who knows what they're doing would spot that in me from a mile away. But I've tried to learn and try to sort of be able to speak the language of my acting trained friends, and making decisions is one of those things. So for this, I get the sense that the reference that the writers of this script are making is that sort of light, almost a reference to like the 1950s, like, this is Tom. Tom is a young whippersnapper, and he's like, I totally get the reference, the ancient callback happening here. And so that's kind of what I'm trying to evoke in my read, and hopefully the client appreciates that, and we get the job. but we'll see here. Let's make sure our edit points here are where we want them. The team finds themselves in. Jack's team has been getting a number of new sales tools and lists thrown at them lately, and it's been adding on to the list of admin tasks they have to complete. Let's do that. Double checking the team finds themselves in. Jack's team has been getting a number of new sales tools and lists thrown at them lately, and it's been adding on to the list of admin tasks. We usually do not edit out breaths, but this is a case where I want this gap to be a little bit shorter, and to do that naturally, I'm going to have to take out the breath. Breaths are natural. People breathe. If you are trying to figure out how to eliminate every single breath in your projects, then you are wasting your own time, and you are weirding out your potential clients, because they're going to start to think, oh, this person never breathes. Is this an AI voice? AI voices tend not to breathe because they don't need to. So do not be taking out all of your breaths. Do not even be trying to attenuate all of your breaths. Breath control should be based on mic technique, your distance to, your angle off of the mic, and all of that. Breath is all about mic technique. It's not something that you should tend to try to fix in post. Even for audiobooks, I do not attenuate breaths. There are even RX. We love the RX D-Click, the mouth D-Click plugin. It is a miracle. But the RX breath eliminator or attenuator plugin, it just, you shouldn't be using it anyway because people breathe. But it doesn't do a great job because the sound of a breath, you don't think it, but what the computer sees when it's analyzing all of these waveforms is anytime you say an F or an S, those sort of the hissy parts of the F and the S, those look like breaths as far as the algorithm is concerned. And so you'll find your Fs and S's in particular are starting to get snipped in really awkward ways. Breath control, don't use it. Don't try to use a plugin to mass attack your breaths. In individual spots where it's more about pacing, that's about the only time that I will take out a breath. Of new sales tools and lists thrown at them lately, and it's been adding on to the list of. We're going to shorten that just a hair more. Tools and lists thrown at them lately, and it's been adding on to. We're going to undo that. We actually liked it the way it was at first. So we're moving kind of quickly, despite yapping the whole time. What is this? Jack, head of sales, sure. You got to call it something. And if the client doesn't give you something else, let's see here. Reply. Here we go. Put in our quote number. And we got to go back to, we're in Write, Pro Tools, VoiceOver, Auditions. Hello. Oh, no, not bounces. We don't have to do this again once we've mute these. We don't have to do this again. Once we've said it once, it'll remember for the next audition that we submit. So we'll be good to go. So there it is. All right. And we reduce that, get the next track ready to go. We record every audition on its own new track. And likewise, when we're doing audiobooks, each chapter goes on a new track. And that makes it just really easy to export things, especially with audiobooks. This next book I'm working on has 94 chapters. And so I'm going to have 94 tracks. And it just makes life easy with organizing all of that. The CEMEX Experience 2024. Already have 36 responses in front of us. That's not too bad. Better budget than the last job we looked at. A bit longer word count, obviously. We are still 100% voice match. The role is narrator, genuine articulate style. These are all very sort of standard things that we see. But let's look at the script. Here we go. Pull this down here. CEMEX. Okay. Love that they put a quick pronunciation guide there. And you love to see reference files, whether it's videos or audio. In April of this year, CEMEX and Bovitech hosted 9 members of our global sales team from around the world for a week-long unique learning experience in Canada. We will go ahead and look at this file that they've dropped in, and it should come across on the stream just fine. Let's make sure.
CMEX believes in investing in youth, and especially youth who are interested in the dairy industry and agriculture. To encourage basis, we hone their dairy skill, find career path.
So that's really useful to see those kinds of things from the clients. You love to see that because it gives you a really good sense of just the production value that's going in, the kind of music that they might be using. So this is great. So we're going to get ready to hit record here. Now this is a long script. This is likely, the entire script for the finished product, but for the audition, we're not going to read the entire script, and nor should the client expect that if they are experienced at all. If they're expecting people to read a full, say, 2-minute script for auditions, then they will be unpleasantly surprised by the vast majority of auditions that they get from real voiceover professionals. 50 seconds to 1 minute is the standard for copy like this. Audiobooks, obviously it's a bit longer because the project is way longer. But for something like this, 50 seconds to 1 minute, any client should be able to make a decision based on hearing that much of your voice. So let's jump in. In April of this year, CMEX and Bovatech hosted 9 members of our global sales team from around the world for a week-long unique learning experience. In Canada. Throughout the week, the group gained deeper insights into CMEX's mission and vision. Mission and vision I keep getting them crossed. Throughout the week, the group gained deeper insights into CMEX's mission and vision. They learned more about our products, solutions, and strategies. They shared stories, successes, and their own unique challenges with each other. As they traveled to farms to see CMEX solutions and genetics at work. Most importantly, they went home inspired and even more passionate about bringing solutions to their clients and growing the CMEX business. The group got an inside look at both the CMEX global headquarters in Guelph, Ontario. We're going to see. Hello. Someone just did something that made some noises happen. I believe that means we've got a follower. Thanks for following. How's it going? Good to hear the mandolin pop in from time to time. How's it going, Jade? I'm just going to assume that's Jade. Thanks for the follow. Thanks for stopping by the stream. We're having fun here on the stream, just stumbling our way through these auditions. Hey, I'm glad to see that the ACX Facebook group actually, that people saw the post and the admins didn't just immediately delete it. As you can see, I'm not selling anything here. I'm just trying to just share what I'm doing here. We are going to be doing some ACX shenanigans later in the stream, but right now we are working through our voices.com and Voice123 stuff. So if you have any questions about what you're seeing here, especially if you're coming from the audiobook narration world, that's where I started. I started with audiobook narration, and now I'm trying to focus more on commercial voiceover stuff. And so I'm still figuring things out as I go. So if you have any questions about what you see here, awesome. Love to see it, Jade. So that's great. And I'm hoping that your chat is showing up right on the stream. I think it might be getting chopped off though. Let me see. I'm looking at it. It looks like it is being chopped off. We'll fix that. We'll fix that next time. Like I said, I'm new to a lot of stuff here, but anyone on Twitch should be able to see that in the actual chat window, even though on the video it's a little chopped off. But we can see your name anyway. So right now we're in the middle of doing this voiceover script. We're gonna jump through the editing, and if you have any questions, hit me, and I'll do my best to answer. Members of our global sales team from around the world. All right. right, let's fix this transition here from around the world, and we're actually going to move the cut to the beginning of that D syllable, which I can see right there.
Sales team from around the world for a week-long unique learning experience in Canada. Throughout the week, the group
Okay, we're going to cut here.
learning experience in Canada. Throughout the week, the group gained deeper insights into CMEX's mission and vision. Throughout the week,
All right, we're killing that one. We're going to add a little bit of space here.
unique learning experience in Canada. Throughout the week, the group gained deeper insights into CMEX's vision.
Okay, there's me yapping away, not working. Let's cut this further back even.
Experience in Canada. Throughout the week, the group gained deeper insights into CMEX's mission and vision. They learned more about our products, solutions, and strategies. They shared stories, successes, and
Right, that one was a bit too much, but we came back.
strategies. They shared stories, successes, and their own unique challenges with each other as they
Should I
traveled.
try that again once more?
Most importantly,
No.
they went to see CMEX
Okay.
each other as they traveled to farms to see CMEX solutions and
All right, there's our cut right there. We've been at this long enough to know that we can make cuts in the middle of words and we're going to be okay. But don't try this at home,
together
kids.
as they traveled to farms to see CMEX solutions and genetics at work. Most importantly,
Okay, here we don't want to delete this breath. Again, breaths are natural. People breathe. So we're going to just adjust the bounds of it so that it's not such a large gap and that the breath hopefully naturally leads into this next line. So let's listen and see.
see CMEX solutions and genetics at work. Most importantly, they went
I
home
think that's fine.
inspired and even more passionate about bringing solutions to their
Same thing
clients
here.
and growing the CMEX business. The group got an inside look at both the CMEX global headquarters in
Now, so we talked about the standard duration for a voiceover audition is going to be 50 to 60 seconds. And we were kind of hoping that by the time we got to the end of this line, which is right here, we were hoping we would be at that 50 to 60 seconds point so that we didn't have to do a ton of research on pronouncing this and pronouncing this. Because, yeah, that might look like Saint Hyacinth, but look at where it is. It's in Quebec. So that's probably Saint Hyacinthe or something like that. My French is not so great. So rather than go through the trouble of researching these, if we had booked this, obviously we're going to do all the research that we can to make sure we absolutely nail all of these proper nouns and get everything exactly right. But what we're going to do instead, because we're trying to be fast, efficient, get things done, we are instead going to just submit a shorter audition. If the client likes us and if they want to hear more, it will be known. They will hire us. They will request a longer audition. Those things happen. So we're going to go ahead and just hit CMEX. We have caps lock on CMEX experience. There we go. And now we're just going to go ahead and close that down. Here's the job, reply. Here's our template response. Put in our quote, grab the file, wait for it to upload and hit send. I've been on this website long enough that I don't have to think about all these individual sort of steps that we've got here. We're just go, go, go mode. And that's what, especially on voices.com, you got to be fast. So as you develop these skills to be really quick here, there's only 6 responses ahead of us. So we're gonna get into it and we're gonna try to be quick. We want to be in the top 10 responses if we can. Opening video for a conference, announcer, charismatic, confident, great. We're not going to be too over the top and salesy, but that's what the copy looks like already. We haven't fully read it. We're going to read it cold.
Are you ready to unleash your full potential, to seize market opportunities at every turn, to be relentless in your pursuit of account growth? It's time to hit the gas and put your foot to the floor. This is your year to maximize market share, drive sales, and own the opening. It's time to accelerate. All right. That is very much a read that is not in high demand. That sort of high pressure, very kind of salesy feeling read. We had no stumbles there, so we're actually just going to export this as it is. Again, we want to be fast. We have a good chance of being top 10 here. OHD 24 opening video.
We have a good
Chance of being
in the top 10 as far as received responses. I love a fixed budget. That way I don't have any sort of second guessing of whether my budget is going to be a problem for the client. And we were response number 12. That's not so bad. We feel good about being number 12. Let's see here. Let's get the next track ready to go. No responses to this one yet. So we're only an 80% voice match, but there's no one in line in front of us. And if this client is, military gala, let's go. And the client, I noticed, is based in Texas. That doesn't necessarily mean the end client is based in Texas, but it could just be a middleman, a middle person.
So a production company or something like that. But let's take a look here. So this is going to be a military gala, or more likely a military ball. Or it looks like maybe not an official military ball. I have actually, let's see here. Okay. Jade asks, would you recommend using multiple sites when starting out, or focus on one or two? 100% focus on one, probably just one. ACX it's free to play on, so absolutely ACX is a great place to start, especially to build up just some of the basic editing skills. And to build up the stamina of actually being able to talk for hours at a time. And then if you're going to consider jumping onto one of the pay-to-play websites, so I'm on Voices and Voice123. There are others. Badalgo, I know, is one that a lot of people like. And there are other ones that they have nominal voiceover type things, but they are kind of meant more for on-camera work. I know that I can't remember. Some of my LA friends will know what I'm talking about for the on-camera stuff. But basically, you want to pick one, and you want to just sort of do a bit of research. These pay-to-play websites, they're called that for a reason. There is a non-trivial dollar amount required to sort of get your foot in the door and start seeing auditions. But even after paying that amount, you really have to do a lot of work on the front end to set yourself up in the algorithm so that you will see jobs and have a chance to be seen when you submit auditions for those jobs. So there's a lot to it, and I know that there are sort of coaches and services that are specifically tailored to helping people, set themselves up, set their profiles up to achieve the highest amount of potential success. It's not easy. There's nothing worth doing is ever necessarily easy, but we talk about that a lot on this stream. So I would say pick one or two. I started on Voices, then I went to Voice123, and I think that was fine for my background and my approach. I definitely I was too hasty in jumping in with both feet on Voice123, and that really screwed me over in the Voice123 algorithm in a very not permanent, but it took a long time to undo the damage that I did in the first week on that website. That algorithm is brutal, and it really can make long-term success difficult if you do some silly things up front, which is what I did. So learn from me. Don't be like me. But Voice is a good place to start. It's got some friendlier pricing tiers where you don't need to necessarily, take out a second mortgage just to get your foot in the door. And there's no long-term penalties for doing silly things as far as the algorithm is concerned. So you can play and experiment a bit more on Voices than you can on Voice123. Voice123, there's consequences for submitting something for an audition where you're not a great fit. But on Voices, have at it. If you're even a remotely good fit and you got the time and the interest in it, then go for it. We are going to try to get in early on this gala voiceover Hopefully we don't have to say the word gala, because I know that different people say gala or gala. So hopefully we don't have to say it. And we are going to have to. Looks like halfway down here, it does say it. But again, we're only reading 50 seconds worth, so let's see what happens. Honored guests, please rise for the invocation. Honored guests, please rise for the invocation and remain standing for the presentation of the colors. Big breath. Honored guests, please rise for the invocation and remain standing for the presentation of the colors and the national anthem. We're going to put a break right here, and we're just going to take a big old breath and get through that line. Guests, please rise for the invocation and remain standing for the presentation of the colors and the national anthem. Please welcome to the stage, Floyd McClendon, Jr. Please welcome back to the stage, Floyd McClendon, Jr. Please welcome to the stage, Parker University President, Dr. William E. Morgan. Please welcome back to the stage, Parker University President, Dr. William E. Morgan. Please welcome to the stage, an icon of compassion and altruism, award-winning actor Gary Sinise. Honored guests, please take your seats. The festivities are about to begin. At this time, we kindly request that all cell phones are put on silent. So we're going to stop there. We're going to make a quick note here. Typos, simple grammatical errors such as like this, honored guests, please take you seats. Obviously, that's not what they meant. So we just correct it without drawing attention to it. We just correct it in line. We're not going to mention it in our message to the client. We'll never mention it. We will just continue making the correction. That way we're not stepping on any toes. And we're just reading the copy as it was intended to be read, even though there is that mistake there. There are cases where the client might, actually have intended to have that particular grammatical construction, and they want it read exactly as written, and in those cases, you do what the client wants. But not until you're hired. For the audition, go with your guests. Please rise for the invocation and remain standing for the presentation of the colors and the national anthem. Please welcome to the... We're going to give longer breaks here, because it's sort of expected. Colors and the national anthem. Please welcome to the stage, Floyd McClendon, Jr. Please welcome back to the stage, Floyd McClendon, Jr. Please welcome to the stage, Parker University President, Dr. William E. Morgan. Please welcome back to the stage, Parker University President, Dr. William E. Morgan. Please welcome to the stage, an icon of compassion and altruism, award-winning actor Gary Sinise. Honored guests, please take your seats. The festivities are about to begin. At this time, we kindly request that all cell phones are put on silent. All right. Now, we're going to go ahead. Let's see here. During the gala. Yeah, we're going to go ahead and read this next one. This will put us well over the 50-second mark. But I have a feeling that, these first lines, they're all very similar. Please welcome so-and-so. Please welcome so-and-so. So we want to give the client the opportunity to hear us reading more of the long-form sort of prose style copy that they've got here. So we are going to break our own rule, and we are going to read probably a little bit over a minute even, just to read this next little mini paragraph. So here we go. Cell phones are put on silent. Bid with purpose at our silent auction before and during the gala, contributing to the Invicta project and aiding the transformative treatments to the brave veterans and first responders who have dedicated their lives to service. The silent auction will be held online and in person. All bids will be done electronically. Love it when we don't make any mistakes while we're reading. So we don't even need to listen to that. We're just going to put copy-paste our room tone silence there, hit our crossfades, turn on RX mouth declick. That causes our little delay here. That's a bit annoying, but that's okay. Gala voice over. So it's funny that this is a military gala and that Gary Sinise will be in attendance, because I, during my time in the military, actually did some events with Gary Sinise in attendance. My job was
quite interesting to say the least. But Gary Sinise he's, when the guy isn't doing some, crazy award-winning acting project of some kind or another, he likes to hang out with military folks. And he also plays the bass guitar, and he's got a band, and he like tours around military bases, playing with his band, and like usually the bass player is like way back in the back by the drum set. But Gary, it's the Gary Sinise band, and even though he's not, like the front man as far as like the song selection, there's a lot of like he's got a really talented group of folks singing with him, but he's still front and center because he's Gary Sinise. Let's see here. Jade says, definitely a good note. I ran into that on an introduction to the book I'm working on and haven't been sure what the right. Oh, I'm sure you're talking about the correcting typos sort of in situ, like as they are. Absolutely. And it's very much an experience thing. Like it would be impossible to construct a rule to tell people like, here's when you should or should not correct a typo when you discover one. It would be impossible to like include all the different caveats and situations. So you're absolutely right that like you'll figure it out as you go, and experience is the best tutor there. Recast, Qualcomm family, session and usage mail. Let's see here. This is a managed service. There's not really much to know there, except for generally speaking, these are higher budgets, and it may not necessarily be the end client who is listening and making determinations. It might be actually voices.com staff. I'm curious as to how that works there. I bet they send off a short list to the final client so that the client isn't having to listen to probably for something with this budget, I bet this client will get over 100 auditions. And some clients just don't got time or interest to do that. So I bet voices.com, or in any case, any production company serving as the middleman, the middle person in this situation, would just send a short list. Here are 5 voices for you to listen to. Pick one and we'll be good to go. It's going to require a Source Connect session. That's something that audiobook folks usually don't have to deal with, but Source Connect is one of those things that you got to be prepared for in the voiceover world, because it is still very much a thing. Pop culture references for this character: Stanley Tucci and Barack Obama. I don't know that either of those are me, but this is voices.com. We're not going to get dinged by the algorithm if we aren't a perfect match for this. According to their algorithm, we are a perfect match. We're 100%, because we did our work at the beginning of all this, and the algorithm likes us. So we're just going to read this. We want to be early on something that pays this well. So let's do it.
Introducing the first Dell Copilot Plus PCs. I'm going to assume that the Plus is part of Copilot. It's a Copilot Plus PC. Copilot Plus is the product, is what I'm assuming. I could very much be wrong, but we're actors. We're making decisions here. Introducing the first Dell Copilot Plus PCs with on-device AI, built for Generation AI, for a new era of trailblazing problem solvers, modern multitaskers, and creative dream teams. This is Generation AI.
Okay. This is very much something, especially when you see those dollar signs, you could spend an hour on this audition, just agonizing over every syllable. But by the time you do that, you're going to be number 90 in line. And guess what? You'll never get listened to. They're not going to listen to audition number 90. It's just not going to happen.
PCs with on-device AI, built for Generation AI.
Don't like that breath there, actually. We're going to just eliminate
With
it.
on-device AI, built for
We need a little gap there.
PCs with on-device AI, built for Generation AI. For a new era of trailblazing
I'm going to shorten this gap just a little bit. Keep the breath.
for Generation AI. For a new era of trailblazing problem solvers, modern multitaskers, and creative dream teams.
We're actually going to delete this breath too. We're probably going to need to maintain a little bit of gap.
Solvers, modern multitaskers, and creative dream teams. This is Generation AI.
We're going to call that good to go.
Like I said, you could spend all day on that. But you got to think about
getting things in early
early
enough to where you're going to be heard in the first place. And I need to edit this for no additional fee. Flat budget, love to see it. Select my file, there it is. And we are going to be number 33, which is not so bad for a job of this budget. Those things, people obviously jump at those because people like money. So you got to think, you need to get in quick, so you can't spend an hour agonizing over your audition. You also got to think of your opportunity cost. Spending an hour on an audition, you've got dozens of auditions coming in every day. You don't have time to be spending that much time on an audition. And, you can build a great career off of getting lots of these cheaper jobs versus just landing the one big whale that you want so bad. So don't agonize over stuff like that. Let's see here. Create a voice for long form creative piece. We've got video part, yada yada. Let's just look at it and see if it's right for us. Okay, we get it. Okay. At first, I very much had a different impression, but I looked down and we realized that this is probably not for us. Yeah. This is a great job for certain talent. However, authenticity in voiceover, both on the talent side and in the casting side, is sort of the modern watchword. Authenticity is so important, and so whether it's political stuff, if you lean one way or the other, don't audition for things that are the opposite of the way that you lean for politicals. But you need to take that sentiment into just about everything. So if half your family died to like lung cancer and smoking related illnesses, like, are you really going to feel great personally about like reading a Marlboro or a Camel ad? Really? Are you going to feel great about that? Keep those kind of things in mind. For the folks out there who have faith and have strong convictions about their religion or their spirituality, that's great. This could be a great project for those folks. It would not be authentic to myself to read a project like this, so we are going to skip it. But good luck to that client, and good luck to the voice talent that gets that job. That does look like a great job. It looks well written. It's just not a right fit for us, and that's okay. Here is something with a nice juicy budget, but there are literally 100 people in front of us in line. So we're gonna skip this one. No point getting your sort of FOMO up by like reading all the details of that job. Oh, like it would be so great to get this job. Why do that to yourself? And here we are. Since we started the live stream at 2 p.m. Eastern, we're now getting into the jobs that have sort of been sitting in the window for a while. For all my restaurant folks who understand that reference, these have been sitting in the window under the heat lamp for a while. They've gone a little stale. In the kitchen, you might say that food's been dying on the shelf for a while. So this audition, it's a pretty low budget. We're not a great voice match, and it's been sitting on the shelf for long enough that there are already 46 people in line ahead of us. So as great as this might be, we're going to skip this. And it seems likely, if I had to guess, we're probably skipping the rest of the jobs in the queue on voices.com. But we've got two jobs, two voice platforms. So if that's not the case, we're going to come back to this in a second because this one might be worth doing. But just scrolling and looking, it looks like we are very likely going to be archiving most of the rest of these. But let's look at this one first. Brink Drone as first responder. Whole new world, people. This is, wild new products, and so this will be interesting. The character in this ad is an African American male. Obviously, this is not for us, so we just archive it. Next, 67 responses ahead of us. We're not even going to try. 78 responses ahead of us. We're not even going to try. Now, there would be no problem if you've got nothing else to do. Like maybe, we're archiving these. We're not like, they don't go away forever. There's always the archived tab here where we can see everything that we've archived. So maybe after you go and do all your other auditions and you feel like you really need to do more work, you can go back and you can do those. But there's probably something better you could be doing with your time. Maybe work on some direct marketing. Maybe work on something like that. Here, there's only 28 responses. Yeah, it's a cheap budget, only $100 on voices.com. For Jade and for the other folks watching to consider, on voices.com, this number here, that's actually not the number you're going to get paid. Voices, in addition to your annual fee that you pay, Voices takes another 20% off of this number, or rather whatever you negotiate. So for here, when they have just a single number, that's always what I quote. But usually you'll see this is a range. So for example, it might be $100 to $249. That's a very common bucket that you see. And for that, I usually quote at $190. 80% of that is $152. So I have in my payment history on Voices lots of $152, $152. Like, that's just how it works. Voices likes to take that. They like to take a little bit more on the back end, even though you've paid up on the front end. So let's go down here and see if this is for us. Sagility, I would assume it's like a combination of sage and agility, but I don't think they want sagility. So we're going to say sagility helps our healthcare clients maximize. So because of the framing here, because it's sagility helps our healthcare clients, I assume that we are speaking in the role of like a doctor or some kind of healthcare provider. Maximize the value of their operations and medical management spend for their front office, clinical services, and the back office. What a sentence. It's not a run-on. This is a grammatically correct sentence. But you can tell when the copy has been written by the business person rather than by an ad agency or a marketing person, because this checks all the boxes of like, yes, these are our goals. These are the boxes we want to tick for this copy. But man, people do not talk like this. Maybe if you're actually giving a presentation to, your CEO and you've got your slide deck up on the screen, like maybe you talk like this, but is that who this video is for? Maybe. It's not super, super clear. Maybe this is a little, video slide deck that, maybe 5 people total ever are going to see. And those people are the kinds of decision makers who are used to being talked to like this. But if this is in any way even B2B, let alone end consumer facing, even B2B, those are people. You got to talk to them like people. But sometimes this is the copy that you get. And so you just have to do your best to deliver non-conversational copy as conversationally as you can. Because the style right here, engaging and sincere. Is there anything engaging or sincere about this copy? No, but that's what they want. So we're going to do our best. Sagility helps our healthcare client. Sagility helps our healthcare clients maximize the value of their operations and medical management spend for front office. Sagility helps our healthcare clients maximize the value of their operations and medical management spend for the front office, clinical services, and the back office. Okay, that is sort of the testimonial type of read that I'm trying to give, which is what feels like that's what it feels like what they're wanting here. So for something this short, we could give them 2 takes. We could give them more of the I don't want to say voice of God because that's not the style of read, but we could give them another read here. But for this budget and for how many people are already in line in front of us, we're just going to go try to just maximize the value of our time here and not spend a bunch of time on this one audition. And so we're going to we're just going to submit this as is. Sagility. We'll go ahead and put mail in there. Why not? And take these off. Okay, so this could be that maybe they hired someone and now the job's gone. Let's take a look. Let's go back. Was canceled by the client. Interesting. That happens. Maybe that'll get reposted. So that does happen. Sometimes for whatever reasons, they they pull the posting, and they need to fix things. It doesn't necessarily mean anything nefarious happened. That could be an explanation. But we're not going to get hung up on it. We're not going to be, you know, butt mad about oh, I just did a whole 2 minutes of work and the audition disappeared before I even got a chance to submit it. Being fast at our job means that, when things like that happen, it's less of our time that has been wasted. So we got a really low budget here. There's already 18 people in line ahead of us. Let's see here. Looking for a voice to put over a trailer for an upcoming Cologne teaser. Try watching some. So cologne and fragrance things, those, it's helpful to know just the universe that we're working in as far as an ad read. But the cologne category itself is hugely varied because this could be Old Spice, which has like a very sarcastic, sort of a snarky read, or this could be like, who is it, like Dior or Calvin Klein. The Calvin Klein read, which is very much right up on the mic. It's almost like an NPR read. Like it's very proximity effect right up on the mic, and it's very Calvin Klein. Like it's so detached and sort of low energy to the read, and the visuals and the music tend to carry the emotion, and that gives the context to the voice that makes it uplifted in its own way. But something like, an Axe body spray or an Old Spice fragrance ad, it's going to have a totally different read. At any rate, the rate is so low, they don't even know what their budget is. Is it $5 or is it $99? We don't know, and there's already 18 people in line ahead of us who are really excited about getting, maybe $5. We're going to pass on this one. We're not going to do it. So we're going to archive that. And company brand video, we've got 69 responses ahead of us in line, so we're not even going to consider it. So that leaves us with nothing left on voices.com. So we're going to head over to Voice123, and our good friends over at Voice123 have been really great about communicating with us as we sort of go through this live stream journey. And the one thing that they've asked that I do is to protect or obscure the names of the users who are posting. Now, Voice123 has a really cool feature that sort of there's an optional like auto anonymized type of feature where instead of, the person posting it is like first name, last name, it'll just say client and then a really long number. Obviously, that's not anything that you could identify someone by. So we're just going to like briefly come over to this scene where I'm full screen as we open each audition to make sure that we're not revealing names, because it does seem that most of the clients use that anonymizer feature when they're putting their screen name up, but we're just going to make sure. So back to where we are. This is the main Voice123 sort of what you're going to be looking at most of the time when you're on Voice123. So the first step that we're going to do, that we always do on Voice123, and it's a little bit faster than when we do it on Voices, is eliminate the jobs that we're absolutely not going to submit auditions for. And the first easy sort of attribute to do it by is whether the audition has more proposals than the client asked for already. So here at the very bottom, this client asked for 50 proposals. They already have 90. So we're not even going to look at it. So we're going to hit the X there. That's gone. Here, they asked for 50 proposals. They got 56 already. So we're going to say no to that. They're at 30 out of 25, so there's a no for there. Here we're really close, so we'll consider this one. Another thing to consider here is, what is this currency? I consider myself a pretty worldly person, a well-traveled person, but CHF, like, I don't know what that is. Let's see here. CHF currency. What is that? That's a Swiss franc. I never would have guessed that. What's the CH about? Okay. And the exchange rate is almost 1-to-1. So for purposes of just like mentally situating ourselves in for this job. Yeah, Jade, absolutely. The why of what to audition for, it's mostly, for me, it's mostly just opportunity cost. Like, some of these, especially on voices, there's no algorithmic reason not to audition for any job. You will never get hurt on voices.com algorithmically for auditioning for any job. Now, you can make some bad choices that will hurt you in other ways. For example, if a job says, we are looking for African American talent, and if you're a white person, and if you put on an accent or affect your voice to try to sound like an African American person, then that is the kind of thing, like, if it gets out that you're doing that, and it has happened to other talent, if it gets out that you're doing that is a career killer, and that's bad juju. Do not do something like that. Obviously, we're all nice, good people here, and we would never do that. But just use some common sense for things like that. But algorithmically, you never need to be worried on voices.com about submitting an audition that maybe isn't a perfect match for you because it's sort of outside your comfort zone, or you don't have a lot of experience doing animation characters or whatever. Feel free, just give it a shot. Voices is your playground. Voices, if you're not doing anything, untoward, you're never going to get penalized on Voices. Voice123, however, you really have to consider the algorithm in damn near every decision that you make, because if you're not a good match for something, then it's unlikely that you'll get a like or obviously hired for that job. And that's how the algorithm works on Voice123. It's constantly receiving feedback on what clients think about you, and it's constantly updating and determining basically how quickly you're going to see potential jobs. And that's where the algorithm affects you. So when I first got into Voice123, I screwed myself, because when you first get onto Voice123, that first couple of days, you're basically seeing, they sort of do this, like a drug dealer. They give you a little taste of what paradise looks like. They give you a little bit of taste of what the top 10% of voice talent sees. And it's wild. You see all the jobs, you see them right away. You see the big dollar amount jobs, and you get stars and dollar signs in your eyes, and you go crazy and you submit an audition for every single one. And because you're submitting auditions for jobs that you're not a perfect match for, it follows that those clients aren't going to shortlist you by liking you. That's typically my understanding how clients use the liking system to shortlist you. And then obviously you're not getting hired if you're not getting shortlisted in the first place. And that's how the algorithm works. If you're not listened to, that doesn't affect the algorithm. So those ones that we archived where we're over the amount of proposals, I used to think that did negatively affect you in the algorithm, but the folks at Voice123 confirmed to me directly that if you don't get listened to by a client, it's not going to ding you in the algorithm. So that's good to know. So you don't need to, if a job is perfect for you, but you're late to it, don't be afraid to go ahead and submit an audition, because if it's perfect for you, if you are a really good match, if your voice is exactly what this client is looking for, then it's still worth doing. Because if they do get around to listening to you, then, well, sure, they're going to like you and maybe even hire you. And that obviously does good things in the algorithm for you. But if you're not a good match, then you always need to keep the algorithm in mind when you're on Voice123. And so it's a little bit stressful using Voice123, because committing to actually, like, okay, I'm going to do this audition, it's kind of like, okay, I'm risking my position in the algorithm for this, I better make it count. So it's kind of a bummer there. So we're going to look at what we've got on Voice123. Let's see here. E-Propulsion. We already looked. This client has anonymized their name, so we're good there. They're looking for a quote, and that always is something that I'm hesitant to commit to, because say that this is not the end client posting this job. Say it's a production company or some kind of middle person. If they go like, wow, I really like this person's voice, we're gonna shortlist them. Oh wait, we put looking for a quote, and they quoted, $50 higher than our end client is willing to pay. Well, we're not going to forward this talent's voice along to that end client because they're going to be mad at me, the middle person, for even sending them stuff that's outside of budget. So even though you might be a great match, if your quote is wrong, then you have the potential of getting dinged in the algorithm. So I really, really wish that that Voices like forced people to pick at least a price bucket, because if I just go straight off the GVAA rate guide on this, then it's not clear that this client will be prepared to pay that. Maybe they're thinking that Voice123 is just another Fiverr or Upwork, and that they can expect to see quotes for $10 or $15, and maybe they'll get quotes like that. That's not what we're doing. That's not what we're about. I've got bills to pay. I'm doing this full time, so we're actually going to pass on this, just because honestly, I need a client who is prepared to put a number down. I'm not here to do, guess the number that's in your head. I'm not ready to do that. So we're going to pass on that. And likewise, I think we had another one that's looking for, nope, everything else has a fixed budget here. I bet this is an audiobook. It is. Audiobooks on both Voices and Voice123. Jade, if you're coming from the ACX, the audiobook world, this is a very interesting thing. ACX, great platform. Wish it was a little bit more lively. Wish there was more stuff going on. Audiobooks do happen on Voices and Voice123. However, I have only seen like one or two titles come across ACX and Voice123 with a real budget, with an appropriate audiobook budget. Everything else I've seen come across, let's just quickly, I'm just talking, I haven't done the math yet on this, but I'm just going to guess here. Recording length, 57,000 words. Ballpark, that puts it at a 9-hour audiobook. Just ballpark, that's about a 9. No, wait, that's way over. 6 hours. It's about a 6-hour audiobook. And at 6 hours, let's just call it a flat 6, this comes out to whatever, I guess 9, can we do math? Let's call it 11, 12, it's $12 an hour, right? Welcome to my arithmetic live stream. $120 per finished hour. The number that gets thrown around for newer narrators, as far as the ratio of the amount of work you got to put in to create one finished hour of audio, is between 6 and 10. So it could take between 6 and 10 hours of work to create one finished hour of audio. So take that $120 per finished hour, divide that by 6 to 10, you're looking at potentially $10 to $20 per hour that you're making. 6 to $12. Again, welcome to the math. It's not great. It's going to be less than $20 per hour that you're making. And at that rate, you might as well be working at Home Depot, depending on your state. $20 an hour of labor is not a living wage where I live. I'm way up in the Northeast, and you can't live on that. So you got to decide whether it's worth your time to get this book. Sort of a be careful what you wish for situation here. I have gotten a couple of audiobooks off of Voices and Voice123, ones that were posted for a much more fair amount, and those have been great projects. But generally, when you see an audiobook come across on Voices or Voice123, just do that math real quick. Look at the recording length, and look at the budget. Do some arithmetic and make sure it's worth your time, because it can be rough out there. So we're going to decline that, and actually we're going to. So you can just click the X out here in the main view, and that doesn't give you a pop-up. It just makes that job go away for you. Or if you click decline invite up here, it gives you a little pop-up that lets you put a reason. And for here, I'm going to put budget, just so that Voice123 gets a little bit more data about why talent is declining these particular jobs. And it's because for audiobooks, this is not anywhere near the fair market rate for audiobook work. For a book of this length, this should be more than double this amount. Yeah. So good luck to that client. Maybe they'll find someone who is a wizard who can actually produce that stuff in a way that works for them financially. Once again, we're going to switch over and we're going to check these 3 jobs to make sure that we're not going to be showing clients identifying information, and we're not. So we're going to go back here. We're going to go from bottom to top, actually. Here, there's no proposals for this one, which should immediately be a bit of like, why? Why? This proposal is the oldest one that we've got in our queue, and yet no one has determined that it's worth submitting an audition for. So little alarm bells are immediately going off in my head. So let's see here. And this looks like because they are looking for a very specific kind of talent. So they're looking for, it looks like perhaps a Chinese American. It does say language English, US, and Canada in particular, but they are looking for someone with a Chinese accent. This is a very clear case of, if this isn't you, if this isn't your background or your heritage, don't do it. Don't do it. Like actors who I like as a reference are Roger Yuan and Donnie Yen, and even though he's Japanese, I also like Hiroyuki Sanada. I don't know who any of these folks are, but I guarantee if I Google them, they don't look like me. So this is obviously not me. This is meant for someone else. So don't be a fool. Let that audition go to those other talent. And you can set up really aggressive filters in Voice123. Like you can actually have it not show you auditions that contain like a certain word. I'm hesitant to be too aggressive with using those. So for example, I have not set up a filter that says, don't give me auditions that contain the words African American. In theory, like obviously I'm not going to read things that are meant for African American talent, but if the audition description says like, oh, in this case, you're a white cop whose partner is African American. Obviously that audition is still right for me, but because I was a little bit too aggressive with setting up my filters, maybe I don't see that audition. So I've been kind of careful with the kind of things that I actually make sure get filtered out. Let's look at Project WL Fisherman. Biggest tip on the channel: hydrate. This big old bottle here, I will use this particular, before anyone screams at me for killing the planet and wasting plastic. I will use this bottle for about a month. I'll be using the same bottle, and then it starts to smell a little funky, and so I do renew. But generally, in a 2 to 3 hour recording session, I'll go through this entire bottle, and I try to, before I even get into the booth, go through an entire bottle as well. I'm not as good at it as I should be. That is a hard and fast rule for when I'm doing like audiobook days. If I'm doing long recording sessions, that hydration is absolutely key to longevity. However, there are going to be some coaches out there that get pissed at me for this. You can tactically, strategically dehydrate yourself a little bit for certain reads. So if I know I've got a client read that I'm going to be doing for whether it's a character or a voiceover read or something like that, I know if I've got someone who wants that, the Sam Elliott read, not the Sam Elliott, the other guy. That's not who I'm thinking of, is it? No, the Sam Elliott. I was thinking of the Jurassic Park guy. But Sam Elliott is who I'm thinking of. He's the guy, the deep, sometimes you eat the bar and sometimes the bar eats you. That sort of deep Texas voice reference that you see constantly in audition calls. If I have an audition or a client that calls for me to get close to that deep, gravelly, sort of Texas type voice, I will set that job aside for later in the day, and I will tactically, strategically allow myself to experience some vocal fatigue and maybe a little bit of dehydration. So maybe I'll have a little bit of extra coffee. Maybe I won't go through as much water as I normally would, and maybe ahead of it, I might sit out in the broader studio space and sing. I play music. You can see the keyboard back here. but I've got guitars and stuff out there as well. So maybe I'd grab a guitar and I'll sing some really rough stuff for my voice and kind of shred it a little bit so that I'm ready to go and come in here and give that nice low read. And so before any of the voice coaches come in here, I know that's bad. But that's what I've found works for me, and different things work for different people. So let's look at this. Let's look at this ad here. Project WL Fisherman. So in this comedy project, you'll play as a fisherman, an old sea dog who has seen all kinds of situations. Your voice speaks of sea, salt, and should be immediately funny. Immediately funny? Okay. So there's an implied colon here. So you're not saying the word Hector, and you're not saying the word fisherman here. That's who's speaking. I would imagine wherever they copy pasted this from, maybe these were bolded or something, giving an indication that you're not to read these. But that formatting got lost when they pasted it in here. That's fine. Here's some granita for you. There are no ants, right? Why would there ever be ants? Sorry, it's a question that always comes to me spontaneously. I wish we had more information about accent and stuff. Like I live in the very, very far northeastern part of the United States, and there are loads of old, crusty, salty fishermen about. But I also spent much of my time growing up in Houston, and there are old, crusty seafaring folks out there in the Gulf of Mexico. But those are two very different accents, so we don't know which one we want. But we would definitely take this opportunity to make an acting decision and commit to it. However, because we are in Voice123 and we are so concerned about the algorithm and the budget's really low, we're going to pass on this one. So passing on Project WL. Now this is the one that's paying out in francs. I will say that in my experience thus far, I haven't received payment in like any truly wacky currencies. But in my experience thus far is that if you've got your payments situation set up right in both Voices and Voice123, that all of these conversions should happen pretty seamlessly, and that you're not going to see any like really wild fees for converting the currency. I have not seen jobs offering payment in like crypto, which I'm kind of surprised by. You'd think you'd see that from time to time, but I haven't seen it yet. Let's see here. Short film crime noir set in 1980s Tokyo. So we're very sort of steampunky, vaporwave type stuff here. It follows an American agent from New York, and he tries to track down an infamous Japanese crime boss. This should echo films like Goodfellas and Casino. Like, I love the style. I love the brief. This is probably not us. Though we might have some fun. A man once told me that greed was a disease. See, I feel like my the vocal timbre, I'm currently in a good spot for that. But I feel like accent-wise, I'm not going to try to do a New York accent. I'll get my ass kicked. So just determining here, let's play a little bit. A man once told me that greed was a disease. I didn't know what he meant at the time. Now I do. When I flew to Tokyo for the first time, I knew nothing about it. My boss, a huge casino owner and real estate dealer, sent me from New York to find a guy who ripped him off for a serious amount of money. I know I'm slipping into a little bit of some southern stuff there, and that's just, can't help it sometimes. But this is a fun script. You know what? For the sake of the live stream, for the sake of the content, we're going to do this one. This is unlike anything that we've done today. We've done like we did a Voice of God. We've done some like industrial explainer type reads, but we haven't done a true character read today, I don't think. So we're going to do this one. So we're going to go ahead and arm the track. A man once told me that greed was a disease. The first line is the most important. Most clients are not going to listen to more than 3 seconds of your audition. They'll know right away, are you even in the ballpark of correct? So you want your first line to be right. If I'm ever going to agonize over anything, it's going to be the first line. A man once told me that greed was a disease.
I didn't know what he meant at the time. Now I do. When I flew to Tokyo for the first time, I knew nothing about it. My boss, a huge casino owner and real estate dealer, sent me from New York to find a guy who ripped him off for a serious amount of money. The man I was looking for was Akio Kashiwagi, a reckless stock market shark, real estate mogul, and gambler. A big fish in Tokyo. My job? Find the guy. We're gonna do punch and roll style because we've actually gotten through such a big chunk. We're gonna back up. Did we get that name right first try? Are we such professionals? I'm off for a serious amount of money.
Let's see here.
The man I was looking for was Akio Kashiwagi, a reckless stock market shark, real estate mogul. I'm happy with how I read it. I lived in Japan for a few years when I was in the service, and Japanese is actually, if you know the rules of how to, I wouldn't say I speak Japanese. I didn't pick up much at all, but you learn the sort of rules of pronunciation. They're actually very similar to Spanish. Once you learn the rules of pronunciation for Japanese, it's actually a very straightforward language to pronounce new words that you come across. So, hey, life experience win there. For was Akio Kashiwagi, a reckless stock market shark, real estate mogul, and gambler. A big fish in Tokyo. My job? A big fish in Tokyo. My job? Find the guy and bring back the money. I had a lead. This is too much. Find the guy and bring back the money. I had a lead, but it wasn't much. As I was breathing. I had a lead, but it wasn't much. As I was breathing the air of central Tokyo for the first time, I felt a weird tickle in my fingers. And back then, I didn't really know what little too much there on the drama. I felt a weird tickle in my fingers, and back then, I didn't really know what that was. Now I know. It was the feeling of money in the air. Okay, that's good. And since we did punch and roll style, this edit is going to be super, super fast. This is very much the kind of dramatic type read where you want to leave in all the long pauses. Those are absolutely fundamental to the mood and the feeling of your read. So you're going to leave those in here. We're actually going to make this cut here and listen to it. And back then, I didn't really know. That's fine. Okay, hit our crossfades. Make that active and bounce it out. Crime thriller MA short film. Crime thriller MA short film. Voice123. So voices.com has that really handy like little drop down menu where you select the response template, and you can make just about as many as you want, and you can update them and everything. Here, you can't do that. So what I suggest is that you have like a text document on your desktop or something that you can go and copy and paste different responses based on the kind of work it is. So I've got a little gadget here where I can basically copy paste from here. But you also need to consider like tailoring it a little bit specifically to the client that you're responding here to. So usually, this is a case where I am going to mention that I lived in Japan. If this short film is set in Tokyo, like me having lived in Japan and being comfortable with pronouncing things, Japanese words and names and places, that's valuable information for the client to know. I lived in Japan for we'll correct that capitalization in a moment. For 3 years while I was in the service. Let's just leave it at that. Again, you can, just like with the auditions, you can agonize over, the wording of stuff, but honestly, you just want to be fast. You want to get it sent off. We're happy with that. Let's go. We do need to remember next time we submit an audition, so that little text box, it simply retains the text from the last job that you submitted. So
the next client that I submit for will be very confused about why I'm mentioning that I lived in Japan if I don't delete that before submitting the next project. So just give it a glance over if you're submitting a lot of jobs on Voice123 before you commit there. So here we are. We are cleared out of jobs there. We'll refresh this page to make sure we're cleared out of jobs, and we are. Let's head over to our friends at ACX. So let's hit refresh. You've made ACX even better. I don't believe it. With improvements to make ACX more streamlined, it's now even easier to create and publish your audio projects and track your success. Okay, I'll believe it when I see it. Okay, find projects. So I've already got my filters set up here, but ACX always forgets the gender filter for me. Don't know why. That's just how it is. ACX, it'll show you things in chronological order with the most recent things at the top. We have submitted auditions for this and for things below that. So these two are new. So we're going to open both of these in new tabs and look at them and determine whether we're a good fit and we're going to audition for these at all. And then just sort of go from there. So let's see here. Let's look at about this title. It's a newish book. It's only been out for 4 or 5 months. Doesn't have a lot of ratings. So, but the beautiful thing is when you're working for PFH, per finished hour rates, and not royalty share, you don't really have to care so much about how successful the book is. Like it sounds crass, and in the long run, obviously you want your books to sell well, even if you're not doing a royalty share and getting compensated for each copy that's sold. Obviously, you would prefer them to be selling well because that's getting your name out there. More people are hearing you in the audiobook version, and maybe that leads it to its own follow-on work. It's just obviously it's better for books to sell better than not. But there's no reason not to take a job that the book doesn't already have good sales if you're doing per finished hour work, because money is money and we all have bills to pay. So this is, if this was royalty share, I would absolutely pass on this because you've been out for a few months and you only have 4 ratings on Amazon. Like that's not a good indicator of how well the audiobook version will sell. But let's take a look here. We got some information here. Looks like they've done the right thing and they've actually separated their audition script into different scenes with different characters. Looks like a lot of characters. And that's fine. That's actually what you want to see. You want the audition script to sort of, oh no. Oh no. So that's a huge bummer. ACX! So this has been a problem on the ACX platform for years, is the sort of auto formatting that happens. So it has eliminated all of the line breaks. Anywhere where there's like a double space and then a tab to like make it easy to parse paragraphs, that's all gone. And all of the quotes have been transformed into this like HTML or whatever garbage. And that's going to make this extremely annoying to read. I'm sure somewhere out there is like an auto converter where if you've had text that has been sort of, chewed up by a web interface like this, I'm sure it can unchew it up and like convert all of these and LDQUO semicolon. I'm sure it will like automatically convert each one of these into a quote. But this is too annoying. I can't do it. Best of luck to this author. I hope they get this figured out. See, this is what you like to see. You like to be able to just download the audition script. Bonus points if it's in a doc format. PDF is fine, which I'm gonna guess that it's in a doc format. This is great because for several reasons. The biggest thing being if you have a hard time reading certain fonts. If it's in a PDF, you're not going to be able to quickly anyway change that font if it's not something that you like. Here, not only can I change the font, I'm going to hit Control A. Say I want a sans serif font. I can just quickly just go, all right, you're an Arial, and hey, I want to make this, give myself a little bit of a white space to make reading easier. I can hit Control 2, boom, everything is, well, in Microsoft Word, that's the hotkey to make things double spaced, but in here it's not. Let's see here, where is spacing? Format, it's here somewhere. Anyway, you get the idea. Maybe it's in paragraph. Line spacing, double. Okay. So this isn't necessarily how I'm going to read this, but this is an example of what you can do really quickly to take something that's a bit dense, a bit tough to read, especially if you've got dyslexia or something like that. And you might think that's funny, like, oh, what a strange career choice. Like if you've got dyslexia and you're trying to read audiobooks for a living, like there's no reason those folks can't do it. I have like all kinds of weird like stutter type issues, which I'm sure has been apparent throughout this entire live stream. But yeah, it takes me a little bit longer to narrate an audiobook, but I get through it and I still enjoy the work, so why not? Let's take a look here. This book is clearly it's some kind of foreign policy. Maybe it's a history, maybe it's a memoir. We Are America, a voice from the silent majority. So we have to, again, authenticity in voiceover. It applies as well to audiobooks, obviously. We got to be careful about whether this aligns with us just personally. I do have opinions. That's not what this live stream is about. But we do need to make sure that if we're going to submit an audition, that it's a book that we could actually stomach reading. So we're going to look at this on Amazon, and because it's not really clear what we're talking about. Like if this is sort of like a broad, like, oh, we need to fix things. Okay, like what does that mean? So, all right. So, again, this is not a political live stream. These words here, though, fiscally conservative, socially progressive, I'm sure everybody out there has people in their life, and maybe you do as well, and maybe you mean this with sincerity. I say good luck to you if this is what you're looking for, fiscal conservatism and social progressive. Good luck if that's what you're looking for, because that hasn't really existed in this country for maybe ever, but to me, in my experience, these words are a little bit of a dog whistle that belies an alignment that I don't share. And so to not say anything further about that, because again, that is not the point of this live stream, we're going to pass on this one. As potentially interesting as this is, like foreign policy and history, all of this is interesting. I do find it interesting that they are quoting Bill Clinton here. So, maybe this truly is like a good faith, like, quote centrist type of text here. Looks like they've got a bibliography, and so like they're actually quoting sources. So that's great. By the way, when you are reading audiobooks, you are not reading the bibliography. Those bibliography, footnotes, things like that, you just skip them. Those do not get read into the audiobook. It is interesting to know, like, how do you handle certain things like, oh, like a set apart quote at the head? How do you handle things like this bullet list that comes by? And it really is pretty straightforward. You just read them. So here's how I would approach. We'll go ahead and I'll narrate, and I'll actually record it. I'll narrate like basically this first little handful of lines here, and then I'll narrate like this first one or two bullet points, just so you get a sense of how I would approach that, both in the audition and in the real project if I were to book it. Now for the audition, this is a special thing. For the audition, I never read the chapter, and I usually will also skip the header. This author or rights holder is going to hear potentially hundreds of auditions come in. And if the first thing every single person says is chapter 8, chapter 8,
chapter 8. That's going to drive them crazy. So if instead, when they get to your audition, they hear, if Saddam rejects peace and we have to use force, our purpose is clear. That, it'll make you stand out, I think, in a good way. You're getting right into a part of the text that you could really set yourself apart. Like how far can you set yourself apart in a good way by reading the words chapter 8? There's only so many ways you can say it, and you don't want to stray too far from like a normal reading of chapter 8. So I'm going to skip that, and I'm going to skip the subheader here. Here's another decision that you have to make. This is a person that has a well-known way of speaking. I actually pride myself on doing a pretty decent Bill Clinton impression. However, the tone of this book is such that a full-on, like Saturday Night Live level impression of the person being quoted here is almost certainly not going to be appropriate. So I'm not going to do any inflection at all whatsoever that is going to reveal that this is some person with a well-known voice, to where listening to this in audio, you wouldn't know, like, oh, that's Bill Clinton that just said that, until I read the words President William Jefferson Clinton. And some people might not even know that that's his full name. So, like, extra surprise. Because I could, if Saddam rejects peace and we have to use force, our purpose is clear. We want to seriously diminish the threat posed by Iraq's weapons of mass destruction program. President William Jefferson Clinton. That would be insane. So we're not going to do that. So we're going to hit record. If Saddam rejects peace and we have to use force, our purpose is clear. We want to seriously diminish the threat posed by Iraq's weapons of mass destruction program. President William Jefferson Clinton. What Western leaders fail to and then here we would go from there doing punch and roll. So we're going to pretend that that's the end of our punch and roll, and we're going to just to demonstrate, do a little bit of these bullet points here. President William Jefferson Clinton. You solve the problem by, number 1, gaining So I didn't plan for that. In the snap decision that I made in the moment, I could have just said 1. But because conversationality is super important in voiceover as well as it is in audiobooks. And if you're talking to someone, if you're sort of like explaining the key ideas of this, I might say, number 1, that's just what felt right to me in the moment. And you are perfectly within your rights as the audiobook producer to make that decision. You have been entrusted by the rights holder to make some decisions, and this is a case where you're fully within your rights to make a decision like this. So let's President William Jefferson Clinton. You solve the problem by, number 1, gaining regional involvement. The only countries in the region that are directly engaging are Syria, Iraq, Jordan, and Iran. Saudi Arabia has the ability to house over 1 million refugees right now, yet they refuse to act. Why? It supports their cause, extreme Islam. Number 2, fight the ideology. This is the most important. So there you go. You see how you handle that there. So we are not going to be actually submitting this audition. So we're going to clear all of that out. And taking a look at our next option here, discard all those changes. But you can see how, like, making some quick formatting adjustments will make things easier to read, and then you just go from there and just have fun with it. This one, again, it's a bummer. Like, I might really like to do this one. Another couple quick things to look at when you're on ACX. So this is a really short book. It's not so short that it's potentially a problem, but it's something that you want to consider, especially once you start getting into books that are under 2 hours. There, you get into questions of, like, is this an AI generated audiobook or book? Like, is the text like ChatGPT is the real author? And am I going to really be proud of having this in my portfolio? When you are grown enough in your career to where you want to start approaching publishers, like the big publishers, generally speaking, the number that you always hear is 25 to 30 books, audiobooks under your belt in your portfolio. But if all of those books are cookbooks, exercise routine descriptions, simple how-tos like how to garden, those kinds of things that are all like under 2 hours, that 25 to 30 projects that you have done, like that's not the same as 25 to 30 full, fiction or nonfiction, 10 plus hour titles. Like you kind of have to be able to mentally compare, like, okay, what are the total hours that you have on Audible? And if it's not, over, say, I don't know, 200 or something like that, if you've got 30 books and you've got less than 100 hours on Audible, then there's something funky going on there. And not to say that there's anything wrong, because that rule does not apply to people who are doing children's books, for example. And certainly there are certain kinds of, more niche and specialized genres where your average title length is obviously going to be a lot shorter, and that is all fine. But generally speaking, for the normies out there like me, you want to be a little bit careful about taking on projects that are super, super short. Usually those projects you're not going to see in this price range unless it's a true scam. But we did not get any Spidey sense tinglies about this project or the other one that we're looking at here being scams. We could change the project budget, and I'm sure we could find some total, I don't want to say garbage because I don't want to be unkind to people who are in different places in their careers, but there's going to be plenty of things here. Let's look at project length. Let's look at, usually you're going to find these for royalty share. So just simple things. Okay. This cover template, maybe this is a super legitimate and valuable book title that, provides, great advice for millions of people. Maybe. But estimated length, 0.3 hours. Travel cheats, hacks, hints, tips, like, sorry, what are we doing here? I would bet 90% chance that either this is an AI generated title. No one has read it. Even though it's been out for a good 6 months. No one has rated it. We never get to see actual like sales numbers. We can just infer it by their sales rank and by the number of ratings they have. But if you've got 0 ratings, that's obviously not a good indicator. And this author is basically putting some of the burden for marketing and promotion on the narrator. That is not our jobs. If you are expecting a narrator to bring to bear some kind of marketing engine, then you're going to be paying a whole lot more than that other bucket I was in. Royalty share, expecting the narrator to do your marketing job as the rights holder, that's bad. That is a red flag. You need to run away from that because they're going to make your life miserable on the back end by, hounding you about like, well, why aren't you doing this and this and this? Why haven't you submitted this? That's not your job. Your job is to narrate. So as soon as you're done producing this book, you don't need to be worried about marketing that book. You need to be worried about getting your next job. Hopefully you've got your next job lined up before you even start this book. So we could probably do a whole video series on various red flags on projects to avoid. But basically, whenever I see this sort of template where it's, plain text on a plain black background, and then the plain, just sort of, you judge a book by its cover on ACX. Absolutely. Like, look at this. Like, looks like they paid someone to put together, it's really simple. It's a simple flag image with some opacity masking stuff going on. It tells a story. It makes sense. And, that and this. Look at this. Looks like some custom artwork. This is amazing. But
but compared to like some of these, come on, nah. Like, as you spend more time on ACX, you'll learn to spot some of these things and how to avoid them. I generally don't do royalty share anymore. I've done a few projects and I've made not a whole ton of money. I know that some people out there have built amazing careers on royalty share, and that is incredible, because that's what we call mailbox money. That's money that, like, say you get sick for a month and you can't work. Well, royalty share is still out there doing its work for you, and you're still going to get a check. But for me, like, I want to be able to just, like, I'm going to do the work. You're going to pay me what I know is a fair market rate. There's no guessing. I don't have to, like, maybe my royalty share next month, maybe my check will be this much, but I don't know. Maybe there's some kind of downturn in the economy and people aren't buying books as much, or whatever. No. I want to punch the clock, basically. So that is it. No new auditions on ACX that we're able to do. I would absolutely do this one, but I am not going to suffer through A, trying to read this, and B, just going through all the hassle of trying to get that converted into something that we can read. We're not doing that. So nothing new on ACX. We're going to refresh, make sure that there's nothing new on Voices or Voice123, and there is not. So we're about at the normal scheduled time for when I would wrap up, but I do want to narrate my actual audiobook project. I talked about that at the very beginning of the stream. So I have talked to the author of the current audiobook project that I've got going on, and he has approved me narrating the book live on this live stream. So you're going to hear the actual text from the book. You're actually going to see the manuscript on the page as I'm narrating, and see the entire process of producing a finished hour. And I think what we're going to do is we're going to do that tomorrow. We've already been yapping for nearly 2 hours, so my voice is already a little bit shredded. And rather than try to do an evening stream where I do that, I think tomorrow what we'll do is I'm going to adjust the schedule a little bit. I'm going to start on the voiceover side of the live stream a little bit earlier. I might start it at noon or 1, and then we'll take a short break. Maybe I'll get something to eat or something, and then I'm going to do the audiobook live stream. And so that'll be super fun. It'll be, I think it'll be valuable, especially for audiobook narrator people who maybe haven't gotten your first project yet, or maybe you have gotten a couple, but you feel like, man, this is taking me forever. I want to, if you want to see what it looks like for someone who has a ratio of about 2.3x to 1 production ratio, I want to produce an entire full finished hour live on the stream. Now, because we are chatty Cathys, because we chat a lot, I think that's going to take a whole lot longer than 2.5 hours to produce one finished hour. That stream might end up being 4 hours to produce one finished hour. But we're going to be explaining what we're doing as we go. We're going to walk through the entire process from obviously recording to the edit that happens immediately after that, to uploading that into Positron, our proofing software, to doing the pickups for all the mistakes that Positron finds, and there will be some. Maybe if I've got some chat that's like really paying attention as I read, maybe chat will catch mistakes before I even have to send it off to Positron. But we'll do the pickups for the mistakes that Positron catches. Then we will upload it into ACX, and that will be like, hey, that's the entire process front to start. You just repeat that process until you get to the end of your book and you're done. And so that'll be fun to do. But I think we're going to do that tomorrow. I also have to make sure that everything is ready within ACX to actually do that. We would feel very silly if we weren't actually ready. So that'll be fun to do tomorrow. The live
audiobook production live stream, produce a whole finished hour on the stream. But for now, we've gone through all the auditions that we've gotten. We had some folks come in and ask some really good questions. So I want to say thank you so much to the folks that stopped by. If you have any other questions, feel free to leave them as like a YouTube comment. I will be responding to YouTube comments. I'll head back over to, I posted this on one of the audiobook narration Facebook groups, and I think some folks came in from there. So hello to my Facebook friends. But I will be responding to comments over there as well as on the YouTube, and you can certainly say hello on Twitch. I don't do any games or anything on this stream. We're strictly professional. We're pros here. So thanks for coming by. We're going to head over to our little our super professional live stream outro slate. I want to thank y'all for coming by, for watching the stream, and please keep the questions coming. And we'll see you next time. We'll be on tomorrow afternoon. I don't want to decide yet about whether we do stick to our 2 p.m. Eastern time or if we actually come on a little bit earlier just to get the voiceover auditions out of the way. But for the time being, we're going to stick to the 2 p.m. and we'll see about adjusting that. So thanks for coming by. I wish you all the best. We'll see you next time. All right.